Hello, welcome back. This is going to be my video for foundation. I kind of want to talk about base and discuss what it means to have the coverage that you're looking for. So with normal foundations, you want something that has a full coverage, but that may not work for everybody or necessarily be what you're looking for. So sometimes you have the full coverage foundations, which when applied cover over any discoloration, blemishes, even out skin tone. You also have tinted moisturizers, which hydrate, but they also add a little bit of pigment, usually a little bit of bronzer to add a little bit more color to your skin tone. Then you also have BB creams, which are beneficial because they're essentially beauty creams. So they hydrate your skin, they add antioxidants, they usually have minerals within them as well, and they're designed to flawlessly coverage a lot of times the skin. So everyone has different preferences. I'm actually going to put my face on currently, and I actually enjoy one of the chameleon type foundations. So this one's Almay, and it is actually my best light in the lightest. And essentially for me, what it does is it just kind of blends away the dark circles under the eyes, the redness around the nose, and I usually use it through the forehead as well. And essentially, you can see as I'm putting it on, it just lightly covers up and over without necessarily getting too crazy, getting too much coverage in places that I don't necessarily need it. Ideally, you want to treat your skin well, because in doing so, obviously you saw without my makeup on, that was just hydrated skin. So essentially, I exfoliated, I washed, and I hydrated. And I prefer a lighter serum. So I actually have a serum from Avon, and it is a hyaluronic acid serum. And it sounds scary, but essentially hyaluronic acid is a natural compound actually that retains moisture. So essentially whatever hydration is in the cream itself, it basically holds it and binds it to the skin so that it actually absorbs in and actually keeps your skin hydrated, because a lot of times you get the dry flaking skin, or sometimes it can actually cause breakouts. So something else that I like to do, also just as a note, this I recommend any BB cream, any foundation, any tinted moisturizer, or in general any moisturizer that you're using. If you're not already using one of these that has an SPF in it, I recommend getting a moisturizer that has it, because you do want that added protection on your skin, because that's also going to keep you looking younger longer. The two biggest causes of early and premature aging are actually skin exposure, damage, tanning, and cigarette smoke. Those are the two. Unfortunately, those are the breaks. So the other thing that I actually like to use is a mineral makeup foundation to kind of set what I've already put into play. And it just so happens I actually have a new one. So this is the mineral makeup that I have currently, the powder. And I actually use it just to set around those areas that I just applied it. So I just lightly, with my brush, just do a light swoop. And I covered the eyelid too, because sometimes the oils that are on the lid can actually shift the makeup that you have on. So you can see, even just doing one side of my face, I can show you just that little bit of powder, what the difference is. I've barely used any. And you can already see the difference from one side to the other. It's subtle, but it's enough that it brightens up my face. The idea behind foundation is to create a blank canvas, because once you create the blank canvas, then you can essentially add the colors that you want and contour. And that's ideal. So down here, I'm just going to give you a quick tip. I have a little blemish around my chin. Very easy, very quick way to hide them. I'm going to use just a dab, teeny tiny little dab of the foundation that I have. And generally speaking, you want to use your ring finger because it's actually one of the weakest that you have in your hands. So the less pressure you're applying when doing this process, the better it'll work. So I'm just doing a light little dab right there on my chin. And I'm going to work from the center out and just lightly, lightly dab. So I'm going to do that. And then what I want to do is lightly swirl in the compact as well, the powder. And again, in a circular, lightly padded motion, swirl out in a circle. And what that does is it just perfectly covers over it. And it's gone. So I've now applied my foundation. That's my foundation. That's what I do. It's very simple. It's very light. I'm not heavily covering my skin because unfortunately a lot of times with some of the heavier makeups, if you're not cleansing your face every evening or depending upon what it's made with, it sometimes can actually clog your pores and create more issues and create more problems. And healthy skin is good skin, and we want our skin to be healthy and we want it to last and to stay youthful as long as we can. So why not focus on the makeup that we're using? When it comes to facial makeup, I try to use things that are non-comedogenic. I try to use things that don't contain a lot of chemicals that would kind of clog the pores. And also I'm a big fan of mineral powders. And the reason why people kind of tend to gear away towards mineral powders is because they think that they're drying, because they think powder and they think dry, but it's actually quite the opposite. So if you're applying a good moisturizer to your skin and then you're using the mineral powder on top of that, once you've put it on and you're setting it essentially with the powder, it's designed, it has zinc and different minerals, so it's designed to actually alleviate redness. It's designed to help your skin breathe. It actually helps counterbalance heavy oil production, and it actually retains moisture in your skin. So it's actually kind of helping you versus hindering your skin. And helping your face actually look better longer. So next up, I'm actually going to do a blush. So for me, I actually have a blush that I utilize as a contour because putting a bronzer on me where I'm so fair skin, I'm going to look like an Oompa Loompa. So we don't want to do that. We want to look youthful. We want to look glowing. So I actually have a plum tone, and it's called Perfect Plum, hysterically enough, from Avon. And it's one of their mineral blushes. It's a loose powder. So the thing with loose blush powders is less is more. Start with a little. I always say that. You better to go lighter with something, and that way you can add on more colors than go heavy. Because you can always add more, but you can't take it back. So a little bit. I'm just going to actually tap that into the lid. And tap off the excess too, because that's a lot for me. And just do a little swirl. You can see I do it a lot in the lid. A little swirl. And then I'm just going to ever so lightly hit the cheekbones. It's all about framing the face. And I'm going to do a little bit through here because I tend to have a little bit wider through the forehead on both sides. And that's essentially just going to frame my face a little bit and through the top. When you add darkness, when you add depth, it basically kind of frames in where you want to focus on the face. So I've done that. So now I'm going to add my cheek color. So I love when people avoid the apples of the cheek. So the thing that I learned from one of my instructors way back when, which I've always held on to, is the fact when you think about youthfulness, when you think about, you know, bright, young skin, you know, you think of those dewy little rosy cheeks. Doesn't look great on everyone, but I try to tell people, you don't necessarily have to have that cherub-like redness to your cheeks, but even a little bit of color to add some brightness and warmth and vivation almost to yourself is helpful. So I actually have this lovely little kit from Avon, and it is a few different colors, a couple eyeshadows and a blush. And the funny thing is I'm actually using the 2 eyeshadows here as my depth and my warmth, because this is almost a coral tone. And then the bronzed side as my bronzer. And I'm blending them in a swirl motion, lightly. And then in a circular motion, I go in different directions. I move up from the apple of my cheek to the cheekbone. And then I'm also moving down from the cheekbone towards the apple. Very, very light pressure, because again, you can always add more. You can't take it off. So I'm just blending it through the face too to give a little bit more color all underneath. I carry it. I don't necessarily usually carry my stuff all the way down my neck, but I usually do through the first kind of segment under the chin and jawline to frame it a little bit, and also to make sure that I'm carrying the colors. So there's the color. So now you can see I'm coming more to life, if you will, by doing this. So next up, I like to do a little bit of highlighter. So I have a couple different ones right now. And you kind of have to gear towards your own skin tone. So, for example, somebody with darker skin, like a skin tone, may work more ideally with like a deeper coral type tone, or like a deep gold, rose gold color, as their highlighter underneath. It would give them that glow. It would look beautiful. I'm very fair skinned, so I have to be very cautious about, what I'm using, where I'm so light skinned. So I actually have a highlighter, which you can tell I use quite often. And the side that I'm using is a very pale iridescent pink. So I'm going to use a little bit of that right underneath the eye, along the top of the cheekbone through here, on the bridge of the nose, and I do it between the bow of the lip and right underneath on the tip of the chin, because essentially you want to think of areas that the light would hit. So if something's shining on me, the areas that protrude are going to be the areas that get the light. So by lightly applying that, it gives you that glow back. It gives you that, lift. I'm going to put a little bit underneath the brow. And then I usually do just a little through here right above the brow. And that's my highlight. Gives you a little boost. Less is more. I've seen some overkill. People go a little crazy with the highlighter. No need to do that. Start less. Build up to where you feel like it's good. But also keep in mind that you don't want to look like the Tin Man. Just keep that in mind. So now I'm actually going to do my eyebrows, because clearly, as you can see, don't have much. When it comes to doing eyebrows, a rule of thumb that I like to discuss is following suit with your own. So I try, because my eyebrows don't really grow too much at this point, to carry in a little bit more towards my nose and the bridge of my nose. And the pencil that I'm actually using, I like because it's shaped already with the arch. And this one has the dual end, which is fabulous. So for those that can't get a straight line or fight with it, it's great because you can kind of contour it. You can already see. What a difference. I'm going to show you a trick in a second. So basically, get my brows on to where I'm happy with them. When I'm doing them too, I like to go just outside of where they sit to give myself a little bit of a fuller brow. Not so much so that once it's done, it looks completely unnatural. All right, so they look a little crazy right now. I know what you're thinking. You're a little scared. Don't be. So here's my trick, and I love it, and it works great. That same face powder that you're using on your face blends in with your skin, right? So where I'm so fair-skinned and I have such fair hair, it's really hard to find a brow pencil that actually ever matches me. But I want something that's going to stay on my face for a good majority of the day. So this is a wax base, and it will stay. So what I'm going to do is lightly swoop in with my face powder and stipple on my face powder. You can see the difference already. It tones it down. And I can take my brush, I can go back through, and now I can even further soften that and brush it out. Now that I've done that, I can even go back through further with that powder again and just soften out the brow. So now you can see this is the brow that I want versus the brow that I started with. It's framed, it's shaped, it's nice. Kind of even play a little bit more. It gives me some definition because you want a shaped and defined eyebrow. It frames the eye itself and will actually make different colors and different effects that you're doing on the eye pop even further. People are scared, don't be scared, but also don't go crazy. You want it to tie in, as you can see, with my hair color, with my skin tone, with all of it. So I'm now gonna fix the other side. Feeling good about that. My brows are on. I'm done. The nice thing about it, like I said, is with the powder that I've used, it actually sets them in place for the day as well, which is even better. All right. So now I'm going to move on to my eyeshadow, which I like to keep it simple. I found this. I loved it so much. Unfortunately, it's no longer available, so I'm very sorry for sharing this. But it's a lovely, neutral, shimmery, rose gold-esque, coppery, burgundy, white mix of glorious colors that have beautiful pigment and shimmer, and it's very subtle, it's very soft, and with blue eyes, you think of the color wheel, it's contrast tones. It's beautiful. So very simple. So I'm gonna start and break it down for you. So this is highlight, this is lid, this is kind of an accent contour, and then this is what I would consider more of a liner and a depth framer, you know? It's very dark. For me, it may be different for other people. So the highlight you want to kind of put lightly right in the inner corner of your eye, and you want to blend it up lightly, just right underneath the brow bone. And then I like to carry it just a little bit underneath as well, and it just gives a little bit extra on there. This one, like I said, is a very high pigment, so I'm going light with it. Again, right in the inner corner, blend it up lightly, across the brow, through, and a little bit underneath, just to carry it. So that's my lighter. Rose gold color that's here. I like to just lightly sweep across the lid because this is the area that's going to really catch people's attention when they're looking at me in terms of my eye color. So it's a good contrast color against the blue. You can see already the difference and the fact that it just pops. And I've only used a little bit of it. So I'm just carrying that across, basically from the crease of your lid to the eyelash line and up, and just blending it in an upward-outward motion. I prefer a little bit fluffier brushes because they tend to have a better blending quality. I like a good blend when it comes to eyeshadow application because it gives a more natural effect. So now I'm going to use the copper tone, not copper top, and I'm going to lightly start from the outer edge down to the lash line, and then lightly blend in a soft little motions up along the contour and the crease. I'm going to start there and I'm going to blend in deeper towards the crease of your eyelid, and then lighter pressure as I move up. So by lessening the pressure when I'm moving up, it actually creates that blended effect in the eye. So you can see that. So again, from the outer corner, and I'm sloping it almost, if you look, if you use the outer edge of your nostril, you can actually see where you want that to line up with, because that's going to be the outer edge of your eyelid. And then you can kind of create that. And like I said, then you want to do more pressure in the crease. And then as you're coming up, just lightly lessen up on the pressure as you're lifting. So that will actually blend up into the highlight that you've created. So you can see that. Now I'm going to put the brush away because this is my favorite easy part. People complain about eyeliner, they complain about framing their faces, they get very frustrated. Lovely little brush. Perfect. Great. You don't need to use eyeliner to frame your eye. I prefer just the tip, the edge of the sponge applicator. And all I'm going to do is literally lightly drag and brush. And it almost creates that smoky eye effect. Again, less pressure is more. That's all I've done. You can see already. It's framed the eye from one to the other. That's it. And all I have to do now is take the remnants of what's on there and just lightly go underneath my eye. And I've just framed my eye. No eyeliner necessary. It's very simple. I'm going to do the same to the other side. Again, following that angle from the nostril. So it's going to give you that line that's going to give you that flip. And then just following as close to the eyelash line as you can. And just light little strokes dragging across. And then underneath. Very, very simple. Very, very easy. Last but not least, mascara. Well, not last. There's one more step. So before doing mascara, if you so chose, with mineral, if you have any sort of a setting water, so for instance, I have a rose water face spray. If I wanted to take this prior to putting on the mascara and the lipstick and spray my face, essentially water crystallizes minerals. Which is why if you have makeup on and you cry, you get those streaks in your face. So for your foundation, for your makeup, once you've set it, if you have a setting spray or mineral water spray and you mist your face once it's set, that will actually set your makeup in place for the rest of the day. So once you do that, for the rest of the day, if you're sweating, if you're crying, if you're doing anything, if you blot, and by blot I mean take the tissue and literally just press, essentially all you're going to do is take away the water, because what ends up happening is what you've already applied is already crystallized to your face, so to speak. And it sounds bad, but it's not. Your skin can breathe. Your skin is great. It's happy. It has zinc. It has minerals. It thrives on this. And essentially, your makeup's good for the day. And you're not wearing a mask, so to speak. Like, I don't feel anything on my face right now. It's very light. It's very easy. I love it. But again, if you want to set it, you can. I'm, in this instance, not. From there, give it a second. Once it's dried, then you can do mascara. I prefer a silicone bristle. I actually have the Telescopic Carbon Black by L'Oreal. I like the bristle on this. It's a silicone. It's a smaller one. For me, where I have a smaller eye set, it's a lot easier to work with. And I'm going to get in as close to the lash line as I can and work from the lash line up and kind of do little light wiggles and movements along the line. And what that's going to do is essentially coat all along my lash and frame my eye. Which for me, like I said, where I have a kind of a closer set eyelid, it's not a big deal. The big tip and the big trick that I'm going to let you know is to brush the brush on the back side of your eyelash. So I'm going to take this lightly and curl and twirl on the back side. Because what that does is takes up any added powders and debris from your eyelashes and fully coat the eyelash so you get high definition of the eye. Now I'm going to take and hold and push slowly onto the lashes and lightly drag it. What that's going to do is ultimately curl my eyelashes for me. Mascara mostly is a wax base. Wax hardens as it dries. So if I'm pulling and holding in the position I want it to as it's drying, it's going to stay like that. I'm going to lightly do a little bit on the bottom. Again, less is more. I want to frame my eye, but I don't want to go too crazy. So you can see now with that, now that I've done that. Again, this is the lovely unicorn horn brush without the mascara. And this is with. It's just enough. Frames the eye. For somebody like myself who has very blonde eyelashes, it's very hard to get that eye framed effect. If you can learn to hold the brushes like this, it's going to be your best friend and saving grace because it allows you to see and have control while you're doing this. Now I've finished my eyes. That's done. For myself, if I have a bolder eye, kind of like where I've just done this smoky kind of natural color, I prefer a more neutral lip. So I actually have, again, a couple more products. So I have actually a Glimmer Stick, which is kind of in a soft pinky peach with a gold hue of iridescent underneath it. And then I also have just a very clear nude neutral overtone. So I'm just going to lightly remove the excess, dab it off. Again, less is more, can always add, can't take it off. You can in lipstick's case, give you that. And just put that on. This for me is my color. And this is kind of my overgloss, so to speak. If you wanted to just leave this as is, you could. I'm gonna add a little bit of gloss. I like gloss. And now even still, if I wanted to, can even, again, as we said, dab off a little excess. I got a little too much on here. So I'm just gonna lightly kiss on there. And I'm done. So now you can see the completed look. You can see the eyebrows, how now that the eyes are done, frames the makeup itself. You can see how even though I didn't use a bronzer and I used a plum for myself, it actually contoured my cheek and brightened me, gave me a little bit of color. The highlighter underneath kind of making myself pop a little bit. And even though I'm very fair-skinned, I look youthful. I look like I have a little bit of color to myself, but not so much so that if somebody saw me, they wouldn't want to approach me, or so much so that I might scare someone, you know? I feel like this is just an accentuation of my natural self, and it feels very natural. Like, it doesn't feel overdone. It feels very soft, very subtle. It's my everyday makeup. I wear it all the time. And it works for me, but again, everyone needs to find their own niche as to what works for them. You may want a tinted moisturizer with a little bit of bronzer in it. and maybe a cream blush that you can multi-use on your cheeks, on your eyelids, and your lips. Throw on a little bit of mascara and call it a day. I think that's great. If that works for you, if that makes you happy, then by all means, do it. Make yourself happy. So needless to say, that is my video for the day on foundation, on makeup application, quick run through. I do have some more tutorials where I'll go into a little bit more depth, but this is kind of just the kickoff. And again, if you do have questions, feel free to ask. Quick breakdown, full coverage, tinted moisturizer. So full coverage means it's going to cover heavy blemishes. Tinted moisturizer is if you think of as a sheer. So generally speaking, it's not going to give you heavy coverage. So if you have any dark circles, any discoloration, any blemishes, it's not going to really cover those. It's more for somebody maybe in the summertime who needs a moisturizer, who wants some SPF, and just needs a little something to balance out just a little bit on the tone of their skin. That's kind of more what that's for. And then you also have the mineral makeup, cream to powder type things. Those are more full coverage as well. And then the mineral makeup itself can be sheer, or as you saw earlier with myself, it can be used for fuller coverage in combination with another product. Thank you for watching my video, and I look forward to creating the next one soon. And I hope that you have a very great and enjoyable time today, this evening, this morning. Don't know when you're watching this, but enjoy it. Thank you so much again.